So I was trying to figure out which was the bigger story. And then I was reminded, hey, don't forget to get your tickets for Trump 1 year later, a red tie gala. That is January 24th, 2026. Get your tickets. Go to WIBC.com. The bourbon, the show, the food, the everything. It's going to be incredible. Can't wait to see you there, guys. Good to be with you, Tony Katz. The show is called Tony Katz today. Is all my lighting? Yeah. I thought for a second my lights weren't working. They are. Oh, now I know why. Much better. I'm going to lead with Minnesota. I don't want anybody to think that the conversation about a National Guard member being killed is something I'm going to leave to the wayside. It's not. I think for timing, I'm going to start here. Let the show begin. When the New York Times writes the story about how Tim Walz has ruined Minnesota, recognizing that the writing over there by the Manhattan Institute at City Journal was accurate and correct, having to give its kudos to people like Christopher Rufo, which must kill the people of the New York Times. It is clear, by the way, it was Christopher Rufo and Ryan Thorpe writing. It's clear that the story is not only real, as we always knew it was, but is more horrifying than we know. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Glad you're here. Hope the Thanksgiving was wonderful and joyous. Let us get into it. The fraud in Minnesota is not a bug, but a feature. It is a fraud allowed by progressives who feel the absolute need to never question anything, especially when it comes to their progressive bona fides. And how could anyone question Somali nationals living in Minneapolis? Well, that would just be racist. And if you didn't know it, the Somalis told you it would be. Let's start where the story begins, this initial reporting from Rufo and Thorpe, which talks about how these programs in Minnesota, these programs that were designated to help those in need, were built out of millions and millions of dollars. And that money could very well have ended up back in Somalia supporting a terrorist group called Al-Shabaab. The conversation of whether that did or did not happen, whether or not the money is there, that is something that is still, for some people, in a state of flux, still an investigation. What is not an investigation is that Minnesota was paying out more money to these Somali nationals and these organizations that said they were helping people during COVID, more money than it takes the Department of Corrections to run itself in a year. Meaning whatever it is the Department of Corrections budget is, this was more than $1 billion in taxpayer money. The story goes that when COVID came about, well, we have to feed people. I don't know what one thing has to do with another, but you're okay. You have to feed people. Sure. Well, we have to give money, and organizations are going to help us feed people, and people who are of a non-decent sort. And by the way, there are non-decent Americans and non-decent non-Americans. We'll get to this. They said, aha, perfect. Let's go get some of that loot. And there were groups out of restaurants that hold 35 people claiming that they were feeding 18,000 people a day. Now, you say to me, Tony, that's not possible. Anybody could realize that there's no way a restaurant was feeding 18,000 people a day. That's just not possible. When you have a liberal government, a progressive government, the waste, fraud, and abuse is not a bug, it is a feature. Bad people are put in positions of power, people who do not know anything, people who do not know how to do anything, and people who are more interested in how you feel rather than the economic result, because there's always a tax dollar to take or to levy in order to pay for more programs just to prove how good the program is. On its face, I should say. A program for the left is not viewed as being good or popular or worthy based on how many people get off of it, but rather how many people are on it, a fundamental flaw in the thinking. Anybody of a rational mettle would know that there's no way 18,000 meals a day could be going out. But the leftist says, oh, wow, look how well this program's working. And they tout 18,000 meals a day. These programs, oft run by Somali nationals, meaning people from Somalia who've been allowed into the United States, given this glorious opportunity, they're stealing the money. They're buying luxury cars. They're buying houses. You aren't allowed to work. You can't run your business. They're profiting off the tax dollars you still have to pay. That's what happened. That is the story of what happened in Minnesota. This started as an investigation going back to 2022. It's actually a really good, I shouldn't say really good. It's an impressive write-up from the New York Times, if only because they don't usually come out so honestly about these things. And if they're offended by that, I just don't care. Facts are facts. They referred to this in the Biden administration under Merrick Garland as the largest pandemic relief fraud scheme in the country. And they looked at a nonprofit called Feeding Our Future. This nonprofit was nothing more than a shell game. This nonprofit was so busy laundering money that even some mafia guys back in Brooklyn were like, my God, Paulie, did you see that? Do you see what they did there, Paulie? Why do we think? Concrete, Paulie. What, we think no-show jobs or nothing? Look at these people. Oh, bravo. I'm going to send a couple of you guys down to a class down in Somalia. You're going to learn how to do this right. Good work. Good work, people. Well done. The difference is those guys, those Italian guys, they feed children. So the state agencies reimbursed the group and its partners for all these invoices, the claims that they fed tens of thousands of children. The meals were non-existent. They invested in real estate projects overseas. Everything. They start going through bank records. They're looking at this, that, and the other, and they find more and more people who were involved, including those who claimed that they were at risk for homelessness. There was the conversation of those who claimed that their children had autism, and also they can get some of your money. Now, you could argue, hey, Tony, this was just in Minnesota. It's just Minnesota's money. Is that what we think? It was just Minnesota's money? Do we think this fraud isn't happening everywhere? I didn't say there weren't Americans involved in fraud. There absolutely are. But as I said, I'll get to that. They have this program in Minnesota, which was originally budgeted in 2020 for $2.6 million. The budget moved up to $104 million. That's how many people used it. That's how many people abused it. That's how many people saw an opportunity to steal. When the word went forth that there was a problem, Department of Education officials in 2020 saying they were overwhelmed by the number of applicants trying to register new feeding sites because everybody figured out the scam super quick. They started asking about these invoices. They said, as rational people would, we asked who is saying something. They said, hey, is this right? Feeding Our Future, the main nonprofit, responded with an email saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Are you questioning us? Are you questioning us? If you question us, well, we're going to have to say that you're racist. We're going to have to say that you're racist, and we're going to have to make accusations of racism, and these accusations would be, quote, sprawled across the news, unquote. Why don't you just approve every minority business we send and everything will be okay? Translation, it's a nice cushy job you got right there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it. Paulie, I'm telling you, these people in Minneapolis, these Somalis, I got to tell you, Paulie, they know how to do it, Paulie. Paulie, I'm going to send you there. It's a 5-day intensive course. All right. You're going to have to bring your own gabagool. All right. I don't know about that food or nothing. But my gosh, these people, bravo. Bravo. Look at that. Paulie, are you watching this? The Somalis, and I say it that way because that's who we're talking about. And some people are going to claim that I'm engaged in racism. And those people can kiss any part of me they choose except certain parts because I don't allow that from people like you. You have to accept the fact that this happened and an honest conversation is taking place. And if you don't like it, I just don't care. But we care. We're going to discuss this honestly. The way you're trying to stop us from having a conversation because we're talking about Somalis is the way Somalis tried to stop Minnesota from taking a look at what was happening by screaming racism. That dog won't hunt. We're past that. At one moment, there was a trial. And they tried to bribe a juror with $120,000. Defendants in the trial were found to have arranged to send a bag, writes the New York Times, containing $120,000 to a juror, along with a note that read, why is it always people of color and immigrants prosecuted for the fault of other people? And somewhere, Ibram Kendi takes a bow. Tim Walz wants to pretend he's acting tough on this. If you were involved in this, we're going to prosecute you. Allow me. Tim Walz is the reason this happened. Tony, what about the Somalis? I said I would get to it. Let a guy a little build up. Come on. Every single issue in a world run by progressives is not a bug, it is a feature. The fires come in Hawaii. They have nobody who's really there to deal with the emergency management. The fires come in the Palisades, and the firefighters are saying, well, what are we supposed to do? Oh, I'm sorry, not the firefighters, the leadership. The lesbian deputy chief who wants to say, well, if you're concerned as a man, if a woman firefighter like me can't carry you, the problem is you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was her response. They didn't know how to deal with the fires. They didn't know how to deal with the budgeting. Everywhere you look, when there is an absolute failure, remember, it's like Afghan nationals. We have a National Guard troop dead. I'll get to that. Well, we vetted these people. Clearly, you didn't vet these people. Yet you screamed about vetting these people and how much work you did. And if you don't believe us, you're just a racist. Same story, different result. Except same story, same result. The failure of progressivism is this. Bad people, incompetent people in spots of power engaged in creation of programs or looking the other way on programs to allow the worst people to thrive. And then any question about it is, well, you must be a bigot. And they feel all good and righteous about themselves. The disaster is not a bug, it is a feature. And Tim Walz is the poster child for that feature of failure. But what are the Somali nationals? I'm so glad you asked. President Trump is right. Take away all temporary protected status and deport anybody who is connected who is not an American citizen. Lawful status, you're not a citizen, goodbye. Temporary, you're working your way through the process, you're gone. You're a relative, you're gone. And you say to me, that's not fair. With all due respect, fairness is not the conversation here. Because if fairness is the conversation, what was fair to the citizens of Minnesota or to Americans who just got fleeced for $1 billion for possible support of terrorist organizations? For the people who didn't get fed, don't talk to me about fairness. I do not care how awful Somalia is. I do not care how rough their lives will be when they get back. They should have thought about that before they engaged being a bunch of thieving bastards. And I don't care what happens. On planes, deliver them, push them off the planes, take off again, don't even wave goodbye. There is no quarter. An absolute message must be sent. We don't do that here. You don't get to abuse us and then tell us we can't do anything about it. I don't want to hear from some group within the sound of my voice about this kind of bigotry can't last on radio. I didn't say anything until they started stealing from people and claiming they were feeding children. To hell with them and to hell with you for even thinking of supporting them. They have to go. America has to make a decision. Have we had enough of this? If the answer is yes, which I believe it is, then it's over. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free? Absolutely. But no one ever said there wasn't a standard. We need people who want to be here. We need people who want to love here. We need people who don't steal from us. That's it. Are there good people from Somalia who have come who want to live a good life? Absolutely. Do I feel for them? Sure. Do we have to engage deportations? Absolutely. And if they're American citizens, the jail time has got to be massive. You cannot stop the prosecutions. Constant and continual. Criminal and civil. And when you hear leftists say, well, you see, you can't want to get in, you can't go after these people and it's bigotry and you're just attacking group of people for the way they look. That's where you know where the enemy lives. They set up the program to be abused. They abuse American citizens. The program gets called out and they want American citizens to continue to be abused. And justice comes when you're jaywalking, not when they're stealing. Watch for the people defending these Somali nationals. There you will know the enemy of Western civilization and of you. Glad we had this talk. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. Yes, I had many thoughts. I've been going through this for a couple days now. But the real one is, who's the enemy? Every Somali national? No. Somali nationals who were involved in this? Yes. And sometimes some people ruin it for everybody else. That's it. I cannot save people from themselves. Now, if you say to me, hey, there were a lot of people, signaling that this was happening and no one was doing anything, well, that's a little different. And so maybe that would give some deference. But in the main, I would stop all immigration and all asylum from Somalia. In every way, I would stop every bit of it, which I think is what's coming. I think I have that story in the show sheet, which is pretty large today. I believe that is coming, that Trump is going to put a pause on. That's it. I think that's maybe because of what happened in the shooting of the National Guard member, Sarah Beckstrom. And I wholeheartedly agree. And I will share with you clearly that when it came to Afghan nationals, my exact words were, if you're going to have these people help you in Afghanistan, you're not going to help them back. Who's ever going to help you? It didn't dawn on me that even on the military side, we weren't vetting. Good Lord. Let me get to this right here. This Kash Patel story, because I'm going to lose some friends right here. In the normal course of dealing with my life, if I saw a story that says damning report labels FBI rudderless ship under Kash Patel, I'd be like, oh, Washington Post, what have you done now? Then I saw it was an opinion piece by Miranda Devine, and I said, okay, now I'm paying attention. Because I believe two things. I believe that when it comes to the DOJ, things are not running as well as they should. Tony Katz, did I say hello? Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. Live streaming over there on YouTube, just youtube.com/Tony Katz, Twitter X, Tony Katz. Get on in, be a part of what's going on. It's very groovy. Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. I don't think that Pam Bondi is doing a good job. I'm disappointed. I thought Pam Bondi was a much better choice than Matt Gaetz. She had done the work in Florida. She had shown herself to be competent. I'm not a believer right now. And we'll get to the Alina Habba story, what happened in the trial there and the screw-ups regarding James Comey. Well, Tony, see, that's because of a judge. With all due respect, there are a lot of people in positions on the judiciary acting inappropriately. We will agree on this. But Pam Bondi is screwing up. And I do not see even prosecutions that need to happen. The story from Miranda Devines about this report is that Kash Patel wants to build his personal resume, and she has it listed that Dan Bongino, the deputy director, is too. That Kash Patel is in over his head. That he's too worried about his persona and not worried enough about the job. I don't necessarily believe that true about Dan Bongino, who had no reason to go. He was the biggest thing in radio and could still be. If you ask me side by side, would I have more faith in Bongino or Patel? I'd tell you Bongino. Do I know if this is totally true about Kash Patel? No. Do I agree, just like Pam Bondi, that not enough movement is taking place from the FBI and there have been some bad pressers? Yes. It's an interesting story. I'm Tony Katz. And it is an interesting story. Because within these stories, I believe there is oftentimes a nugget of truth. If it wasn't Miranda Devine writing about it, If it wasn't, if it wasn't her or someone like her, I'd be like, I don't know about this. But I would have said, I'm not getting enough movement from the FBI. Am I the only one who really feels this way? Because I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that it is accurate that I'm the only one. We see so much ineptness. We see so much malfeasance that took place under the Biden administration. We saw the attacks on Trump for no reason. Where is the real house cleaning? Where is the real movement here? Now, I hear stuff like this a lot, Ann. I think all three of them have already been compromised and threatened. Are you talking about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino? I don't know who you mean by all three. Oh, Pam Bondi as well. Here's what I think. I see that every now and again. I would say I see it more often than I ever thought I would. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Compromise. Somebody has a picture of them somewhere. I don't know what that means. So we're now to the place where in every single way, there's a government that runs the government. It's one of those. I'm not that guy. And I have a hard time buying into that. Truly do. Maybe what you mean by compromise, maybe what other people mean by compromise is, well, there's opportunity here and there's my personal career here, and that's what matters most. So compromise by ambition or a lack of integrity. Possible. Tony, it's not even that. It's just there's money to be made and they're not going to give up the money. I don't know about Kash or Bondi. I'd have a harder time with that on Bongino. Now, as Willie's a good man. As for the unnamed sources, again, I will say, if it wasn't Miranda Devine doing the reporting, I would have been much more dismissive of the story. But I think that the commentary about Kash Patel, I put under my own same commentary about Pam Bondi. Where's the movement? I don't think I'm off base here. I don't think I'm speaking out of school here. And I get your point. The point is so valid that we're so used to the bullcrap from media. And how could you trust these people? Unnamed sources, this, so-and-so said that. People, they lied, they made it up, Russia. We're all on the same page there. I don't think there's any question that all of us understand that. I'll put that over here. We start there with, no, I don't believe anything you said. I don't believe you at all over here. Then I looked at source of article, which is Miranda Devine over there at New York Post. I said, huh. Then I looked at my own thoughts about Bondi, about DOJ. I'm like, maybe there's something here. And by the way, we should be clear. Kash Patel screwing up the press conference regarding Charlie Kirk, that's factual. That is fact. That happened. We saw it. I hope they work it out, and then we start seeing some arrests and moves. I would like that tremendously. Let's get back to the show, shall we? When I'm trying to figure out whether or not the Secretary of War, or they still call him the Secretary of Defense, I don't know, is being set up for war crimes, I always check in with Sonny Hostin at The View.
Speak to the law of it. I don't know, I'm not a geopolitical expert, but in terms of the law of it, you're right, Sarah. That is why those Army vets explained, do not follow, you do not have to follow illegal orders. You know why? Because if this is deemed to have been war crimes, which by all accounts right now, there are 7 sources that said Pete Hegseth did say kill them all, even after there were 2 survivors, which you're supposed to do under international law. You are supposed to take those fighters as war criminals, prisoners of war, and you're supposed to give them refuge, and you're supposed to take care of them, and then you are supposed to put them into a court of law. Instead, they killed them.
I don't believe you're supposed to take people who are engaged in any type of military action, take them to a court of law. It might be something in a military tribunal or a military court, but I don't think it's an actual court of law if we're treating them as it's some kind of war action, Sonny Hostin. But more to the point, you're buying the reporting from the Washington Post, and we don't know if that is true. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. But Sonny Hostin, I would argue, does not care if that is true. What Sonny Hostin cares about is how do you go after Pete Hegseth? The conversation goes to the destruction of these drug boats. These drug boats that are getting hit by the U.S. military. Right now, we have 11 warships in the Caribbean and 15,000 troops. Kids, just for the record, that is a lot. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of firepower. That, kids, is getting ready for something. By the way, that's the military term is something. Just in case you didn't know, in case you were unaware, I am here to help you with the military jargon, right? Something. That's you're welcome. The story is that they took out a drug boat. There were survivors. They went back and they killed the survivors. I have no idea if it happened or not. This supposedly happened back on September 2nd. This is one of those stories reported by the Washington Post, where I said, as opposed to the story by Miranda Devine over there at the New York Post regarding Kash Patel, I looked at that story and said, I'm going to start with, I do not believe this story. Now give me evidence. Now show me. Trump is already on the record saying Hegseth said he never made that order, didn't happen. I believe him. I'm moving on. Giving himself a little bit of plausible deniability there and creating a little separation. And also, he might not have the full briefing when they were asking him the questions on Air Force One. Right? But this is all about the idea of what illegal orders did Pete Hegseth issue an illegal order? Well, not a legal expert here. I do not know if this is something that can or cannot be done. I do not know the law about it. I'm finding out. Nor do I know the standard. What is the standard when dealing with an enemy that is trying to kill people in the United States? I don't know what the rule is here in what we could describe as a war action. How does one do these things? What is the standard here? Remember, if someone told me we were just blowing up fishing boats out there looking for trout, I'd have a serious problem with it. That these people who are drug runners, and we have the intel that they're drug runners, they're not. We're going to now prove that they're not. That they somehow get some level of care or love, I would consider odd. But again, need to know, what is this legally? And does this go under, what rules does this follow? Is there some level of international rule that we all abide by? Is this about what would be how the military approaches things? And then what is the standard in that we utilize? So, for example, is waterboarding against the law or is it against our standard? Is an advanced interrogation technique against the law or against our standard? And who is to decide what is the line? Does the individual? Does the soldier at play? Because this brings us back to the idea of illegal orders. And Senator Mark Kelly, you know, there's an expression amongst lawyers that when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Mark Kelly is not that guy. So Mark Kelly is the senator who joined in with Senator Alyssa Slotkin, Representative Jason Crow, and Representative Goodlander, and they created this video that says, we know Donald Trump is very hard to deal with, and we know you're under a lot of pressure, military members, but remember, you do not have to follow illegal orders. You must not follow illegal orders. What they said was, hey, don't forget the rules. What they were saying was, Do not listen to Donald Trump. Do not follow his orders. What they were engaged in is disgusting, despicable. Yes, the man on the street would refer to it as treasonous, and rightfully so. None of them are people of respect or people to have respect for. They should resign in shame. Well, Tony, they just said what the rules are. Yeah. But we all know what they were saying. And the problem, my dear leftists, is that you think the people of Tulsa, you think the people of Peoria, you think the people of the Bronx are so unbelievably dumb that they're going to buy your line of crap. Yeah, that's what they said, but that ain't what they were saying. Girl walks into the bedroom, finds her man with another woman, says, "What is going on here?" And the guy says, "Wasn't me." That's what he said, but that ain't what he was saying. And everybody knows it. In case you're ever wondering exactly how much the political left despises you, how much they hate you, how much they want to downplay you, how much they want to talk down to you, insult you, ridicule you, and dismiss you, and gaslight you, there it is. What Mark Kelly was saying was, don't listen to the commander-in-chief. Mark Kelly's disgusting. When you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. No one gave this advice to Mark Kelly as he appeared on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Legality of what they are being asked to do. So I want to put the question to you. If you were still in uniform, if you received an order to strike suspected drug boats overseas and kill everybody on board, would you refuse that order in real time?
Well, let me start by saying I've sunk 2 boats, 2 ships. I sunk an OSA-2 missile patrol boat in Kuwait Harbor. I sunk a Polnokny troop carrier in the Persian Gulf during the first Gulf War. Never once did I question whether those orders were legal or illegal. People can tell the difference, should be able to tell the difference between something that is...
Whoa. He was involved in 2 events, didn't question the orders, and then makes a statement that puts an end to the concept of the chain of command.
Never once did I question whether those orders were legal or illegal. People can tell the difference, should be able to tell the difference between something that is unlawful and something that is lawful.
If people could tell the difference between something that is lawful and something that is unlawful, we wouldn't need lawyers. There would be no crime. We wouldn't have laws on the books. What the hell are you talking about? Now, I never wore the uniform, so my military people are more than welcome to chime in, and so is everybody else. I'm going to bet all of the money in my pocket against all the money in your pocket that if we are leaving it to the corporal to decide at the age of 20 and a half what is a legal order and what is an illegal order, the military would fall apart in, according to my Flederman von Riest time here, 5 minutes. No, wait. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. 5 seconds. If we're relying on the private to determine whether or not he should take the hill because the order might be illegal, the whole system falls apart. It falls apart. The statement here from Senator Mark Kelly is not only a stupid one, but under the most very basic scrutiny. Not under the scrutiny of military experts, not under the scrutiny of historians, not under the scrutiny of people who've attended the War College, not under the scrutiny of anybody who has a deep knowledge base, of the dopey radio host. It fell apart in actually less time the military would. Tell me more about how Mark Kelly is a guy who's a serious contender for the presidency now. What a statement to make. And what a fool will believe to listen to him and say he's right. People should know the difference. He is stating, no longer is it what he's really saying. He is stating that we should not have a chain of command, that the chain of command does not have value, that the chain of command is not working. He is stating that with this president, with this administration duly elected by the people, that the chain of command is broken and that the person on the front line should simply say no, that they know better. I'm sorry, if it's not treasonous, what's the word? You know, there was this conversation that Hegseth should call him back to service and then try him. I said, all right, that's interesting. What he did was awful. And then some people said, well, you can't really do that. No, I don't know if you can't really do that. If it can happen, it should happen. Because Mark Kelly is a danger. Let the justice system handle it, guys. But let it get handled. I'm Tony Katz. Actions are? Yeah. So sorry, I was just talking to producer Landon. So our home station is moving buildings. And because of that, I connect from my studios over there. I'm betting that nothing's going to work. So I may have to leave the confines of my my humble abode to head to downtown Indianapolis to do the show. There are worse things. There are far worse things. So now we're waiting on Karoline Leavitt. We've got a White House press briefing today. That will start at 1 o'clock. Looking forward to that. And then what else do we have? Imagine if border agents in Arizona were told by Senator Kelly, you don't have to listen to the president. Well, correct, Stephen. It's the same mathematics. In how many ways can the Secret Service just stop protecting Joe Biden? Can the Capitol Police just stop protecting Jasmine Crockett? Wasn't that happening? Wasn't she getting protection for Lord only knows what. I had an event, by the way, people who have security with them all the time, it must be a thing to get used to. And I assume you do. It's just a natural part of things. I had an event and post Charlie Kirk, I think everybody in radio, public events, where are they? What's the situation? What's the security situation? And I wasn't happy with the security situation, and I brought my own. That's a weird moment. I don't get what other people get in terms of threats and things like that. I really very rarely happens to me, just stupidity on social media. But it's weird. It is a thing to realize that that's how maddening it is. Should these people be like, no, I don't think this person needs it. I think it's an unlawful order. What Mark Kelly is doing here is obscene, and we should be clear. It's just obscene, and nobody should respect it. No one at all. Let's get back to the radio show. Here we go. So the story states that the Black Friday spend was $11.8 billion, and that's online only. Total Black Friday spending, $18 billion. And I'm telling you, I cannot make hide nor hair of this economy. No how. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. You had here's a couple of the headline pieces. The Dow was down. The NASDAQ was down. Bitcoin massively down. Now, full disclosure, I do not own enough Bitcoin to count. I never have. That's my fault. I do own crypto. It has not been fun. I didn't bet the house on it. I'll be fine. I just like full disclosure. While that is happening, gold prices continue to go up. They were up over $4,200. Silver at $58 an ounce. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. By the way, I did have silver. I sold mine at 51. That's right. Genius. Honestly, I think selling early is okay. I did well, and I moved on, and I leave it there. Oh, please. It wasn't like I was making some kind of massive transfer. I had a small amount. I sold the small amount. Everything was okay. People selling at 58 did better than I did, depending on how they bought it. The precious metals up, that's a hedge against inflation. But oil prices still is under $60 a barrel. The 10-year Treasury has brought itself down to 4%. And last week, at the end of last week, it was actually under 4%. And we see that $18 billion was spent on Black Friday. And I don't believe that includes what takes place over the weekend or today, which is known as Cyber Monday. What we do know is people bought more luxury goods and bought less of them. So they bought higher ticket items and less items altogether. You tell me what this is supposed to mean. People are spending. People are taking out of things that are in the, not to make a pun, ether, and maybe going for more understood goods like gold, silver, and luxury items. The interest rates are not jumping up, which if they stay at this 4% and get under, could keep some houses selling. You explain to me what's going on. Crazy. Also, are we going to find that everybody did their buying on Black Friday and now it's done. How much money are people going to spend? By the way, that $11.8 billion from Black Friday and online sales, up 9.1% from last year. $11.8 billion, up 9.1%. Man, some people are making money out there somewhere, right? They have to be. It is a crazy. What's up, X-Man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Where did you bring me some Avos? Where do I have some Avo cigars? I don't see them. I don't see where they are. Oh, you bought them on Black Friday. Got it. There you go. That's fine work then. All right, here's what we've got going on. The White House briefing starts in a bit. Karoline Leavitt going to dazzle us. I will have that for you. Looking forward to that. And I will be back. So we are right now in the radio break. So we are right now in the break for us. And don't forget, Trump, 1 year later, a red tie gala. You can go to WIBC.com or you can go to tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Yes, you can do that. I'll put that up there. Boom. Oh, no, that's another sponsor. Tickets.tonykatz.com. You can get your tickets, and you should, because it's gonna be outstanding. It's gonna be so incredible with the food and the bourbon and the laughter, and I'm putting together a show, people. It's gonna be awesome. Cannot wait to bring it to you. Tickets.tonykatz.com. January 24th, Hyatt Regency, downtown Indianapolis. That's the place to be. It is going to be spectacular. I hope to see you there. We are in commercial break. We'll take the break right now. Guys, smoke them if you got them. And we'll be back in... Wait, where is everything? Where in the world did it go? There it is. We'll be back in a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. The show is called Tony Katz Today. You have to bring your own cigars. This is the Buffalo 10 Maduro. It's a box press. It's a rather inexpensive cigar. Probably $6 a stick. It's sold in a bundle. The Buffalo 10 is amongst a group of cigars that, for the money, beyond bang for the buck. If Buffalo 10 was like an everyday smoke for you, I could see it. If Buffalo 10 was your I'm working around the yard cigar, so I could put it down because it's a box press, it won't roll away, or I'm working in the garage, 10,000% see it. You needed a group of cigars for an event just to make sure you had something. You cannot go wrong. Really a well done stick, and they've got it in a natural as well. That's what I'm smoking today. So we've got the press briefing coming. Jackie Heinrich is now taking her seat there, and who else is that speaking right now? Oh no, they're doing the stand-ups as the news people often do, gearing up for it. So I will bring you that as well. Oh, do I start discussing Andre Carson talking about values? Because I don't do that. I don't do that. And don't forget to get your tickets, tickets.tonykatz.com for Trump. 1 year later, a red tie gala. It is going to be so good, so spectacular. I'm telling you, it's going to be an incredible event, January 24th, 2026. And some people have asked, well, are there going to be cigars? And the answer is I was supposed to have a meeting today about that exact subject. Now, because of some other things, we're probably going to get delayed. But if there's a way to do it, oh, don't you worry, I'm going to do it. It's going to be so good. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Let us get back to the radio show, which is, well, beginning right now. Let's go. White House press briefing close to beginning. Everybody's getting into their seats. I believe they're serving cheesecake. What? They don't serve cheesecake at the. It's not much of a press briefing. If I was press secretary, I would serve cheesecake. Just in the mood for cheesecake. Tony Katz today. Guys, good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com, waiting on the press briefing to begin. And while we are, let's check in with the good people over there at CNN to see what they have to say about the economy. Huh. So energy costs are better. Well, that is going to hit the Democratic Party hardest, because I was told that everything is more expensive and we're all going to die. I still don't say that the White House could go out there and tout economic success and say, man, look how great things are. Oh, look how good we're doing. No. No, you cannot do that. But some things are better. And the White House does, as we've said here from the beginning, needs to do a better job of saying it. Scott Bessent needs to do a better job of messaging it. And they have been. Now, you can't message what isn't real. So stop messaging us on food prices and, oh, look how Thanksgiving dinner was less expensive. That was always dumb. That was the Biden administration telling us that a 4th of July picnic or cookout was 16 cents less this year. What do you... Stop it. Stop it. That is insulting. Stop insulting us. Now, one of the things that they want to do is let you know that the good times are coming. This is about setting things up for the midterms. Well, right. You need to set things up for the midterms. This was Kevin Hassett discussing this on Face the Nation.
Have time to change all the tax forms and everything, and so people are going to get really big refunds in the fall as well. And so we're really optimistic, and we think that the good news around Thanksgiving is the sign of something that's even stronger to come.
So sorry to the people in the chat who weren't hearing that audio right there for a bit in the live stream. You want to tell us that the good times are going to come when the one big beautiful bill goes into full effect. Okay. Well, then it's got to come. If you want to tout no tax on tips and no tax on this and no tax on that, it has to come. Now, by the way, I should admit that I oppose the idea of no tax on tips. I want no tax on my labor. I want no income tax at all. I don't see why I don't get a deal that other people get. Why can't I be compensated this way? And then you created a system by which I can't be compensated this way. I found the whole thing offensive. I was prepared. I had a very large negotiation to do for my radio deal, which is now all done. And I was watching this very carefully because I absolutely would have set it up so that I get paid as a tip. Why would I pay taxes? I don't have to pay. I don't. Well, that seems nutty. I'm not trying to prove anything here. If I can avoid paying the taxes in a legal way, I do just that. So does everybody else. Just like you should. Well, you're cheating the government out of. No, I'm not cheating anybody. It's my money, and they don't deserve any part of my labor whatsoever. There are other things they can do and engage taxes on. And you're also not talking about what we do via private charity. But we'll save that. We'll save that just for a little bit. My point to the White House is now you must deliver on that. If the one big beautiful bill doesn't kick in until January 1st, and that's when these things are going to happen, everyone's going to get big tax returns. Show us. Show us the big tax returns. Now, I do not think that's going to be a part of the conversation here. I don't think, although there's no doubt that if I'm Karoline Leavitt, discussing that gas prices are down, this is down, that's down, that's going to happen. That's going to take place. But I don't, if you cannot guarantee it, and which is kind of what you're doing, hey, wait till this kicks in, then you'll see. It's got a touch of a, we have to pass the bill so you know it's in it kind of vibe. You never want that vibe. But more importantly, you have to be able to deliver on it. Now, we're getting ready for the press briefing, and more people are speaking out about this drug boat strike, where here we are, we've got 15,000 troops in the Caribbean, we have 11 warships in the Caribbean, we're taking out these drug boats, and did an order come for the U.S. military to go back and kill survivors of one of these attacks on a drug boat? 3 people survived, and did we or did we not go back and kill them? The members of the acclaimed nonsense media seem to believe that they have some kind of deep understanding about this and are engaged in, well, doing what they do.
The Washington Post reporting fabricated, inflammatory. He also said this, quote, "Our current operations in the Caribbean are lawful under both U.S. and international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command." Have they proved that? Do they have to prove that?
Well, they haven't proven it. But again, if they're so confident, they should welcome public inquiry.
What? That's Richard Haas. If they're so confident, they should welcome public inquiry. Can I ask what that means? I mean, does he explain what that means?
As Peter correctly said, the issue is not simply this alleged second strike against people who weren't posing a threat and couldn't defend themselves. But there's the first strike issue, whether this makes sense as a legitimate military mission. And I'd say if there's something before a first order question, it's the larger issue of what we're doing off the coast of Venezuela.
Now, I've stated this. I think that's a rational question. I don't think it's a rational thing to say that first you have any clue as to whether or not this happened. This is just a report from the Washington Post. Who knows if they could be believed? I would err to the side of absolutely not. But what public inquiry do you think is not going to happen? What does public inquiry mean? That we question the military? We question the military all the time. We spent 20 years in Afghanistan building a military, and they folded in 5 minutes because the generals that you told me were geniuses and could not be questioned taught them how to fight in an air support military. They don't know how to do that. And you couldn't guarantee the air support. They couldn't keep an eye on planes. They weren't able to fly any planes. The whole military collapsed. Like cavalry might have made a better idea, or cavalry or light infantry might have made a better idea for Afghans. By the way, why are we training them? They were able to push out the freaking Russians. Maybe they've got a hold of these things. They fell to the Taliban in less than an hour. When Joe Biden said, none of our intelligence says that that's going to happen, it happened. It happened. Public inquiry. You mean we're not going to have a couple of members of Congress ask questions? There isn't going to be a hearing? We're not going to see Hegseth in front of a committee? There should be a public inquiry. And now people are going to go out there and say, yes, there should be a public inquiry. Sometimes they say words because, well, they don't know what they're saying, but if they say this thing that sounds important, everyone will say, my gosh, yes, this is so very, very important. I think it's okay for us to ask, what is the standard here? What is the legality here? What the cable news outlets are trying to do is figure out how Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump are guilty, whether or not they are. They want to use this to say, well, I guess Senator Mark Kelly was right. Can't follow them illegal orders. They don't know if it's illegal and they don't care. They do not care what is. They only care what they can get done to damage their political opponents and get power. White House press briefing coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So I've got here, they're waiting on the briefing. So I'm staring at this, and they're playing some, over there at C-SPAN, some nonsense from, I guess, earlier today. Have you ever watched the C-SPAN hosts in the mornings where they take the calls, right? You call one number if you're a Republican, one number if you're a Democrat, one number if you're an independent. And these hosts sit in front of the camera, look at the camera, hear the most insane things being said to them by America, and then they say, thank you for the call. Let's go to Josie in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Josie, what do you think? I have no idea how they do that. They sit there and they listen, and then they work the switchboard. Yeah, line 3, Topeka. Hello, you're on with Larry King, and that is not a Larry King impression. What? That was terrible. Larry King didn't sound like that. Good gosh. Maybe it's my fault for not taking callers. I mean, it's not that I'm opposed to callers. You can call in. I don't. Maybe I should. Maybe that should be the whole show. People give comments, and then I rate the top 3 dumbest comments, and then I respond to the officially dumbest comments I hear. Is that a show? Yeah, but I couldn't do it as a podcast. I mean, it would be available as a podcast, but I'd have to do it live, right? So, or people could just leave messages. People could leave messages. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the future. Perhaps, right? Because what I need is more. What I need to do, I need more to do. Glad you guys are here. Very much appreciate it. We've got the White House briefing coming up. Let me let people know that. There we go. Yeah, we've got real work to do right there. And what else have we got? Coming back in 60 seconds. No, I mean it's not even an ask. It's tell. It's not even ask. It's tell Tony. And then let's see how crazy it gets. We'll go from there. "30 seconds, we're back to the show. Nicely done. Man, she is late to the briefing today. All right. White House press briefing scheduled to begin. Meanwhile, China is not happy with Japan. I know that most people are paying attention to what's going on in Venezuela, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You absolutely should. There's a clear action going on here, and I am very surprised, and I'll get into it, that Congress has not demanded more oversight, demanded a declaration of war, something. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. I take you to this story over here about Japan, where the new prime minister, Sane Takaichi, has decided to move missiles to an island near Taiwan. China says this is deliberate to create regional tension and provoke military confrontation. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case, but it's meant to get China's attention, and that worked. Why is Japan interested in China's attention? We should at least note the long-standing hundreds, if not thousands, I would leave that to others. I'll say hundreds of years of hatred between China and Japan, claiming no expertise. There is no love here. China was not always this China. China had to deal with the subjugation of the Japanese empire. There is no love lost. Today's China, this communist hellscape, is desirous of full-on hegemonic power. They want to be the dominant power throughout the Pacific Rim. And the conversation of this really gets into the idea of whether or not this idea of China is going to take that hemisphere and we're going to keep our hemisphere, and that's how we're going to have a little bit of détente. That's how it's going to happen. That's why you see 11 warships right now in the Caribbean taking a look at Venezuela going, hello. By the way, that's going to become a meme. If you see the video of that, I realized while I'm doing it, I may have made a dreadful mistake. China wants Taiwan. China wants the Taiwan Straits. It wants the South China Sea. It wants the Yellow Sea. It wants control of not only the fishing, it wants control of the cargo. It wants control of everything in the area. Japan, under Takaichi, seems to have no wants for that to happen and seems to be very, very willing to fight. China stating that right-wing forces in Japan are leading Japan and the region toward disaster. Beijing is determined and capable of safeguarding its national territorial defense. Japan is making a statement that's what is ours, and we don't think anything should belong to you. We simply have no interest in being some type of, never mind vassal state. We have no interest in being isolated from our ability to trade and to work and to be living a good and safe life. We're going to protect this island, and we're going to do so through what? what Major Mike Lyons, military analyst who retired United States Army, who you hear on this show, referred to as visible leverage. That's what he refers to Trump's doctrine as. Visible leverage. And what we're going to do is show you. Now, we all understand that China has far more people and more dollars and could do far more damage. I want to share a long-standing theory that I've had about China. I think it's Gordon Chang who believes this also. I believe that China is a paper tiger. It is my strongest feeling that if China were ever really punched in the nose, they would not know how to respond. China talks big. China talks smack. China talks tough. It's part of their charm. But China has never really been confronted and has never gotten punched. No, I'd rather none of it happen. No, I'm not saying I'm looking for it. I'm not saying I want it. I'm not saying any of us need it. We'd be better off if Xi Jinping wasn't there and they weren't a communist nation. I am not saying that I want the war or a fight or anything else. What I'm saying is China's never taken a punch. And China reacts very aggressively to simple moves and twice as aggressively to larger scale moves. This will sometimes keep people from making the move at all. Those people are wrong. This is an unbelievable show of strength from Takaichi. Unbelievable show of strength. Taipei, of course, meaning Taiwan, saying that Japan has the right to take steps needed to protect the security of its territory. Japan's strengthening of its relevant military facilities is basically helpful to maintaining security in the Taiwan Straits. So, of course, this is helpful to our national interest as Japan has no territorial designs or hostility towards Taiwan. Things are gearing up. I'm very curious if we see a move from Australia soon. The Aussies have a lot to lose. Why do you think we as a nation are starting to build submarines in Australian ports? Maybe China does get that hemisphere, but that doesn't mean the other nations of that hemisphere want China to have it. White House press briefing, that's coming. This is Tony Katz today. Just a theory. Just a theory, kids. That's all it is right now. Dang it. Sorry. Got it. White House press briefing hasn't happened yet. It could be happening any second. Oh, they're opening. No. Yes. No. So people in my state of Indiana are losing their minds because this is a state talking about redistricting, and they're holding the special session now about it. They're also doing some work on taxes and tax law, and that they had to get done. So there's a lot of screaming and yelling about redistricting and about how it's cheating and you're changing the rules of the game and blah, 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 blah. I favor redistricting. Lawful process, political process. You can vote out state legislators if you don't like the lines, and no lines are ever fair. They're drawn the way they're drawn. Well, the new map came out, the proposed map, and it's something else. I mean, it looks a little like Illinois. Like it's a little bit here, there, and everywhere. It is. It is what it is, what it is. And the big argument is that the problem with this map is that some people are going in certain media markets. It crosses media market lines. And so now people are going to get all of these political ads from all these places. It's going to be really expensive to run for office. Well, that's something. This is the argument against. And they just change the rules as they go along. Now this is the thing that's really problematic. I favor redistricting. I do not know if this map. I do not know if this map is going to be the map. This may be, okay, let's test it. All right, let's now bring this one out so it looks more palatable. Oh, okay, I could live with this one. I honestly don't know if I don't know if they're smart enough to do that. Like I don't have a clue, but I'm curious. I'm curious if that's going to be the case. Anyway, let's get back to the show. So if I understand it right, Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are upset that their son got embarrassed by Scott Jennings, and people are upset with Nikki Haley's kid? I got to get into that. Tony Katz today. But we've got a White House press briefing right now. Karoline Leavitt speaking. Let's bring it to her.
Will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace. Later in the afternoon tomorrow, the president will make an announcement in the Oval Office on his initiative to create Trump accounts to give the next generation of Americans a jump start on savings. It will be a very exciting announcement indeed, especially for all of the parents across the country with young children and babies. On Thursday, President Trump will host the presidents of the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to sign the historic peace and economic agreement that he brokered. On Thursday night, the president and the first lady will celebrate one of America's greatest traditions, the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the ellipse. And on Friday, President Trump will attend the FIFA World Cup final draw at the Kennedy Center. You all will be seeing and hearing from the president every day this week. So you have me today.
Tree thing going on there. Portland had their tree lighting, but they didn't call it a Christmas tree. They just called it a tree lighting. They couldn't call it a Christmas tree. You understand that they're not like us. I'm Jewish. I call it a Christmas tree. It's a Christmas tree. Light it up. It looks beautiful. Somebody give me some cocoa, a present. I'll move on with my day. But no, we can't have Christmas in the town square. It's a violation. It's not a violation. We get it. You hate Western civilization. You want to go after Christians any way you can. And if you can't do it the way they do it in Sudan or Nigeria, you'll do it this way. We get you. We understand that you're jealous of how Christians are persecuted in African nations, but no. We'll start with this and work our way up. It's embarrassing already. Back to the briefing.
Difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America. Two young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible.
She's talking about the Afghan national who killed a National Guard member, Sarah Beckstrom, and wounded another National Guard member in D.C. over the weekend.
Who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House and in ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder and violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and unknown individuals were flagged to the Biden administration for national security, public safety, and fraud concerns. But the terrifying truth is that the Afghanistan debacle is just a small part of Democrats' complete and total betrayal of the American people during the Biden years. The tragedy that we just witnessed the day before Thanksgiving is a reminder that untold thousands of terrorists, gang members, and criminals were invited into our country and remain here to this very day.
Now, I want to make sure that I'm on the record, because when the conversation came up about Afghan nationals coming to the United States, I said on this show that if there were people helping the U.S. military in Afghanistan, we can't abandon them there to the Taliban. There was a deal made as far as I saw it. It never dawned on me that the military wouldn't have vetted these people, and would not have dawned on me that we were bringing in other people that were not vetted at all. I never said bring in those people. As I have said repeatedly, I do not allow single able-bodied men to enter the country. From China, from Honduras, from anywhere. But if they were helping the military, I believed in absolutely making sure we honored the promise to them. It seemed rational. They weren't properly vetted. You have people screaming about vetting, and anytime you brought up vetting, the left would say, why? You're just such a racist. In any case, we now have our third, fourth, fifth example in this with the murder of Sarah Beckstrom. That Afghan nationals have no interest in being connected to the American way of life. That bringing them in, clearly a mistake, and that mistake must get rectified. And that's what I want to see President Trump do. That and Somali nationals, which I'll get into.
$1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership. President Trump is putting an end to this dangerous America Last approach. His position is rooted in common sense. In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries. It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status.
Yep.
President Trump is ending this scam as well. And I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country.
Yep. I voted for that. Lots of people did. This isn't about whether or not we're a kind a nation or a decent people. It's about whether or not we hold a standard. And the standard is you're not allowed to just come into the country, run roughshod over the country, hate the country, steal from the country, try and attack the country, and kill our citizens. The answer is no. No. Back to the press briefing.
Invaded as a country, culturally and logistically, when it comes to immigration. And we know that immigration without assimilation is indeed invasion. So given the recent remarks from Vice President Vance on a college campus about dramatically reducing legal immigration to address some of this crisis, and President Trump's Truth Social post last week about individuals who may be non-compatible with Western civilization, are there any conversations happening or plans being made behind the scenes for the administration to implement at least a temporary immigration moratorium, for example, in light of what the American people might be calling for?
So, Isabel, it's a great question, and I think I spoke a little bit to the heart of your question in my opener there. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far.
I'm going to let her walk through the actions. We'll take the quick break. We'll come back to more of the White House press briefing coming up. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Bring it back to Karoline Leavitt, guys.
Utilized to come into the country have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front. And it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the borders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month. But we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right; it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. Thank you. Gabe.
Thank you, Caroline. Excuse me. Regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd. The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Gabe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question, the president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicholas Maduro of?
You're cherry-picking the president's statement a little bit yesterday. As he also said yesterday, the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former president Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed to the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency for whomever he deems worthy of that. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Following up on Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
And then on this pardon for the Honduran president, does it at all undercut the administration's messaging while you have these congressional Republicans defending the strikes on the narco-terrorists and then a pardon for a convicted drug trafficker? Does that make it more difficult for your members to defend your administration's policy?
I don't think so, Jackie. I think that President Trump has been quite clear in his defense of the United States homeland to stop these illegal narcotics from coming to our borders.
Karoline Leavitt is in the middle of the White House press briefing. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today, talking about this report from the Washington Post that there was a second strike on survivors of a drug boat that got hit by the U.S. military, that they did it and it was lawful and they were a threat, and that is going to get ripped apart a whole bunch of different ways. A whole bunch of different ways. Just torn apart, for sure. But there is a real question about some people are getting pardons. One that took place, I think it was over the weekend. And people are like, anybody can get a pardon now. You got enough cash, you'll get a pardon. Trump, Biden engaged all these insane pardons. This one's got people asking questions. The pardon power is the power of the president. And there's going to be absolutely nothing. I know Ro Khanna wants it. They're not going to get rid of the pardon power. They're not going to do it. Tony Katz. Did I say hello? I'm Tony Katz. The press briefing is going on. I am still Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Let's take it to the press briefing. Karoline Leavitt speaking to the press.
And we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well. As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health. Again, we will provide
Democrats are going to be very angry about this. They're going to be very angry. Oh, he's lying. Oh, they're not telling the truth. But he's really in mental decline. Listen, if he's healthy, he's healthy. Poor you. What do you want from us? But wait till you see the death wish stuff that comes now. Just nuts.
And what are they going to discuss? Are they hoping to reach a kind of final decision on that?
Out of the effort of transparency, I will confirm that the president will be meeting with his national security team on this subject and on many matters. He meets with his national security team quite often. He's the commander-in-chief. It's part of his responsibility.
Press briefing will go on. I'll get back to it in a second there. But what I just said, I didn't want it to just go by the wayside. It's part of the ugly. I disagree with people. I don't wish them dead. These are two very different things. We understand we're in the place of wishing dead. We understand we're in the place of trying to kill. They did try to kill him. They did kill Charlie Kirk. And please don't give me any Candace Owens insanity. Would you? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. They're going to hear that Donald Trump is healthy, and they're going to be upset about it. Then they're going to say that the doctors are lying. Everybody's always lying because you disagree. Not everything is a plot. Not everything is this great scheme to. Some things just are. Donald Trump is in good physical health. Joe Biden, not. Donald Trump, mentally aware. Joe Biden, not. And that was true before the election. That was true when Biden dropped out of the race. It's also true today. And there will be people who will tell you today that Joe Biden's just fine. I don't know what to say to that. I really don't. But it's the amount of lost we are when you see that there are people who will gladly wish him dead. Stunning. There are more questions going on right now about the pardons, and I can appreciate it. If the White House is indeed admitting that they did go back and kill survivors of a first strike on one of these drug boats, that's going to get a lot of people to ask questions. It's going to get a lot of people riled up. I say my two questions, I'll get more into this, remain. What is legal in this regard? Not what some TV pundit nonsense person says. And what is the standard in any situation like this? We need the answers to those questions to be able to assess what possibly took place. But now that she says it, okay, we can now talk about the story more in depth. When the Washington Post says it, I wouldn't buy into that at all. It's the Washington Post. Believe them? Stop it. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. Get a little more of the press briefing right here. See what else is going on.
And therefore, he signed this commutation.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made. Sure. In the middle with the red tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead, and then
In
you.
the wake of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor
Go ahead
Greene's early resignation, reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president maintains very good relationships with the vast majority, maybe with the exception of one or two. I think many in this room know who I'm referring to. Very good relationships with members of Capitol Hill within the Republican Party. And the president clearly is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party. I think it was a recent CNN poll that actually showed that more than 90% of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go ahead.
Now this.
Sure.
First on the Venezuela strike. You said that that second strike was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following law of armed conflict and then second on immigration?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents, which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
Immigration.
As I said, they're going to keep asking questions about this, but she was getting into something prior. Oh God, I'm going to lose it. I was going to respond exactly to that, and then I want to hear the next question. Oh, it wasn't Venezuela. Oh, Republicans, got it. I think that is something to keep an eye on. Republicans retiring, Democrats retiring. People saying, I don't want to be any part of this midterm election. I don't want to be any part of this House. This is no longer a place to be. I have wrestled with the idea of running for office numerous times. It would be fascinating to serve. It would be a delight. It'd be a treat. How do you serve in a place where you cannot get anything done? And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not doing it. It has gotten much more. I would truly argue, for lack of a better word, on fun. And I think that there's a fair amount of Republicans. When you see Republicans saying, "I'm not going to run," if we're going to start seeing this happen, you're seeing that the one thing that Trump is not maybe doing that he needs to do, don't go down the road of Obama. It's not all you all the time. You got to build these people up. You got to give them an opportunity too. You got to leave something behind you. Obama didn't. He bankrupted the DNC and said, who gives a crap? It was all about him. It is, and there's been this conversation about morale and other things. I think there's a little bit of truth to this, and I'm curious to see if we're going to see any more not running for re-elections coming up. And yes, Libertarian, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right that it would make me rich. It would make you rich. Look what happens. It's nuts, the amount of money. Guys, you are appreciated. quite a bit. I'm glad that you're here. We got to run. The show continues over at WIBC.com. You want to go be a part of that, go make that happen immediately. I'm back tomorrow at noon. Tell your friends. We're growing this thing, and I'm glad you guys are here. I will be back tomorrow, guys, at noon. Don't forget to subscribe. Talk to you then. Take care.